Hi, I'm Philip Callan, the general manager of the workshop theater. Thank you for being here tonight for Tell Me I'm Gorgeous at the End of the World, the last gay play. I'm here with Dramaturg-In-Residence, Mr. Zachariah Ezer. Hey, Zach, how are you?
Hey, Phil, I'm
Good
good.
to
How you
see
doing?
you. Grateful to everybody for being here tonight. For Aaron Coleman's, there's Aaron. Aaron, our playwright, welcome. And our director, Dominique Rider. And also from, sorry, I'm managing two computers and not doing it very well. And one other person, a special guest from the Audre Lorde Project, Yaszmin Harris is here with us tonight to join us for our Talkback. Let's add her in there. Yaszmin, can you turn on your, I think we got you here. Oops. There we are. We're all here. Fantastic. I am going to turn the proceedings over to Zach. Lead a little conversation about the play, about the process, and talk with our guests. And take it away, Zach.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Phil. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me for this. Yaszmin, Dominique, and Aaron, and everybody watching at home. First, I just want to congratulate Dominique and Aaron for a production very well done. I was engrossed the whole time, even though I'd seen it quite a few times, and I was talking to a couple people in the audience who were equally engrossed.
Thank you. That's good.
So, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm glad that we were able to have a talk about the play. I think there's a lot here, and I think that a lot of people would benefit from hearing about some of the things we're going to talk about today. So I want to start at the beginning, and I've asked you this question before, Aaron, but I want to ask you what inspired you to write this play, and I kind of want to, as much as you can, maybe talk a little more about sort of your experience of the gay community that inspired it as well.
Yeah. So this play was very much inspired by the experiences of me and my friends when we came out and went specifically to West Hollywood in order to find community. And it was very clear, and I have friends of many races, but particularly me and my Asian friends. It was very clear that there was a sort of double standard that was happening within that community, and it took us a while to it didn't take us a while. It was like fairly clear that there were like some people who were hot and some people who were not. And so this play was born of trying to understand what that drive is, why we on that side, but in our side also. So that's kind of was the launching pad for it.
Great, thanks. I want to include everybody here. So I want to talk to Dominique, kind of when you first saw the play, what was initially appealing to you when you came on, and Yaszmin, having just seen the play for the first time, we'd love to hear some thoughts from an audience member as well. Dominique, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Yeah, when I first read the play, I think the thing that was the most interesting to me is the way that Aaron really captures how anti-Blackness structures desire, right? And the way that it not only structures desirability, but it also structures the identity of non-Black people, right? The way that there is this entire community of white gay men that is able to exist because there is a thing that their existence is not, right? I think it's very, very fascinating, both on the theoretical and like on a practical level of understanding the sort of formulation of white subcultures specifically. And then also just like the ending moment of the play is just such a stunt to me of like, yeah, no, you, especially when I first read it, it's like, oh, you would rather fuck a corpse than a Black person. That like that the sort of ideas that causes and the sort of intervention in that stage is, I think it's like the ongoing conversations we're having about Black people's desirability really fascinated me and made me want to lean into what Aaron was trying to do.
Oh, wonderful. And Yaszmin, yeah, just any initial thoughts you might have had from seeing it for the first time.
I mean, being a Black trans woman, coming into the life at 18 years old, I'm 38 now. I experienced some of the same thing, and it was really an emotional um, experience for me to watch you all perform that. Times when I forget what the name was, but the young lady, I believe, where he was echoing his thoughts, I guess. I'm hoping I'm explaining that right. But that scene there and the conversations that he was having, I've had those conversations with myself. So it was kind of like taking me back, and it was a look for me innerly to see how far I've come in that process of loving self and not caring about whom others desire. But what do I desire for myself, and believing in my own desirability and lovability, and not having that to be valued outer or outer things, things like
Absolutely. No, thank you. Aaron, do you want to say something?
Yeah, the character of the stag is that sort of sense of a pure, more beautiful form of self in one's identity, blackness, gender, whatever is true to you, and then or to oneself, and then hearing those conflicting voices of I'm ugly, I'm beautiful, I'm ugly, I'm beautiful, I'm ugly, I'm beautiful. What is beautiful? Why do I think I'm ugly? And coming to terms with all of that and learning to embrace it. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to understand what that is in a world that is built to view certain people as undesirable.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, and I think this brought up, I feel like this brought up a lot of things for me as well, and for I imagine a lot of people watching at home. And so one of the things that you do really well, I think, in the play is that you do talk about these ways that these different queer people of color can be seen in media that maybe already exists, and maybe you're contributing to that canon yourself. I'm wondering if anyone from the panel, and only if you feel comfortable sharing, if there was any particular moment of fiction from your own life whenever you first felt seen in a piece of fiction. And maybe if not first, because first maybe too difficult, maybe too emotional. I totally understand it. There's maybe even one more recently that really resonates with you.
I'll start. There was a film from maybe it's 1970, 71, around there, a really old film called Norman, Is That You? And it's with Red Fox. And it is about a gay couple. One is black and one is white. And it is a comedy, and it banks in a whole lot of tropes and stereotypes. On Broadway, all the characters were white, but in the film version, one character was black, one of the couples was black, and the other one was white, and the main character was the black character. And for some reason, in 1970, they decided to make this, maybe because Red Fox and Pearl Bailey signed on to it. But I was like, oh, I relate to that, just the representation of this black gay character who was just existing, who was not any sort of side character or anything like that. And it was very, very, very rare to see that. Now we're seeing it more, but many, many years ago, it was like, oh, I am just seeing a visual representation of myself in a way that's a lead versus in the background or the comic relief over there.
Absolutely, yeah. Dominique, Yaszmin?
I mean, maybe there's not.
I'm still contemplating.
Oh, yeah, no, take Please take your time. I mean, Dominique, if you have one, otherwise, I can open what I think may be a small Pandora's box.
I mean, like maybe Garnet from Steven Universe is like and that was when like I was an adult. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm still in so many ways searching, not searching necessarily because I don't watch TV anymore, but like I feel like that that never came for me. And maybe it's come for like someone else, but I'm still there's that door hasn't been opened yet.
That's so interesting because this is the one of the reasons I wrote this particular play was I never saw a satisfactory representation of what my personal experience is. And anytime I did see Black queer characters, they were the sidekick over there. In this one film, they were the lead, but they never dealt with racism within the gay community. Very blatant and real racism within the gay community. They never responded to that. And so I wanted to see characters that dealt with that specific issue. Black and Asian.
I mean, wow, yeah. I mean, we're definitely in, I feel like, a big moment of queer representation, but I think that, like, I really didn't mean to, but I may have, like, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I'm glad that, you know, people are taking, you know, chances on these kind of scripts because everyone is going to be that one for someone. And I'm really glad that, you know, we're at least starting to see more and, you know, there still is, you know, a long way to go. I'm wondering, we were talking a little bit about the Black Stag earlier, and we were talking about it as this sort of like representation of self. And I'm wondering if, especially because the play's changed so much in the past, you know, few months, if it meant anything else to anything besides sort of like a self to anyone here.
Yeah, I think in some ways, to me, the Black Stag it's like it's the self, but there's also like, I think for me, maybe even more than the self, it's the possibilities of what self could be, right? Like the Black Stag is like, I think especially inside the play, the Black Stag is every choice Silber could have made to love himself, right? It's all of those choices, and so I think in a lot of ways for me, the Black Stag is like a speculation on what futures are possible. And the sort of other ways that you can exist outside of and out from underneath the sort of current regime of terror that we are experiencing daily, by the minute, by the hour. And so I think that the Black Stag represents like a sort of possibility to me of like, there's always a way to go left, right? Even when you've gone so far, there's still a turn you can make. And that sense of like, we could just be doing something else. The imaginings otherwise, to like put it as Saidiya Hartman would say.
I love it.
And also that, and Dominique and I have discussed the role of the stag quite a bit in the development of the piece. And the stag is also representation of self is there, but one really has to search for it and dig for it to an extraordinary extent to find what scraps are around in the recesses of libraries or in the backs of out of print books, and it's hard to you have to put in effort to see it and to find it, because the world won't just present that to you, that positive self-reflection or that emotional truth about self based off of blackness, queer blackness. So the stag is the see me, find me, I'm here, but you have to make the effort to see and to look and to study.
Which, you know, it is a deer. They are, you know, fleeting and easily scared, even though the stag, you know, is willing to stay for a while, but you know, you can spook it.
Zach, you come up with these like brilliant. that's absolutely right.
So one thing that you mentioned that you wrote this play about your experiences a while ago when you first started coming out. I'm wondering if, even though this was about a while ago and it is a satirical play, if you're still seeing some of these same things in the current gay community.
I don't really like participate that much in like the spaces like that anymore. And I now have found my community of people who accept me.
Oh, we lost Yaszmin. Hopefully she comes right back.
So I have avoided places that feel like that would be the case now. But I hear from people who are still out there that these prejudices are very apparent still.
Yeah, I mean those the kind of quick little things that are no spice, no rice, no chocolate, etc. Right? Like these things are you still hear about them quite often on Grindr profiles and things like that. They're kind of Grindr I don't think was a thing quite yet when you'd come out. So if that things mutate, but
what are you saying?
I would never ask. I would never, But yeah, these things mutate even as much as they are remedied.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time, and now it seems like they are worse in some places. West Hollywood is a horrible, terrible place to be a person of color. It is very rampant in no fats, no femmes, no blacks, no Asians. I mean, just like it's the language of segregation, just right up there in people's profiles, shamelessly. New York is not as bad, but and it's a particularly American thing too, which I find funny. A lot of people I know go to Europe and they're like, "Oh, I'm not a hideous troll monster." It's a particularly American phenomenon.
And yeah, no. And speaking of these, this American phenomena and your American phenomenon characters, I'm wondering if it was hard for you to get into the minds of these characters and give them some pathos, and if Dominique, it was hard for you to sort of at all to direct making these people into sort of not so much caricatures, but closer to full humans. No, go off.
No, it's like I don't know, right? Like I'm not sure, and I told Aaron this. Like I'm not sure how interested I am in like the humanity of like white men, right? Like there's a system in place that takes care of that. And so for me, it's like there are these great moments Aaron has written that I think are really interesting. Of again, like this sort of like idea of possibility. Of like, if you hadn't given into this sort of cult of skinny, cult of whiteness, cult of like this really rigid and I find oftentimes boring idea of masculinity, you might have a personality. And so there are those moments, right, where it's like, oh, these characters have interests that are not like, I go to the gym 7 times a week. What are those moments, right? And so for me, it was like, how do we balance the absurdity of these existences? Because I think they are absurd. And at least try to give them a little something, especially with like how I think Aaron is interested in those moments of humanity, while also just like sort of balancing the realities of like the people we're here to care about are Silber and John Anthony, right? And I don't ever want the sort of intrigue, and I think it happens all the time, right? Like you watch it in media where I'm thinking of like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, where it's like, this is a show that is being led by a black man and a white man. The white man is sad, so we're supposed to care more. Why? You know what I mean? And so making sure that the balance of care never tips in the wrong direction, because I think enough people care about white men, and making sure that the care that we are extending inside of the world of the play, and the focus of the play never teeters too much into the white nonsense of the white gaze, but really stays grounded and focused in the world of what Silber, especially, and John Anthony are trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it in one. Yeah, no, I feel that, and I also feel like there's kind of a pretty.
That's why Dominique's the person for the play. Speaking my soul, speaking my heart.
Yeah, I think that's why I think there's such a devastating sort of rug pull if you don't know what you're getting into with this play. I mean, hopefully you see that the Aaron is Aaron and Dominique is Dominique, and that this is the team. But if you somehow walked into this proverbial room, I can definitely see like, okay, it was a white gay play, I get it, and I think that's why the subversion of the genre works here. I would love to hear if you don't mind telling us a little bit about your experience with this white gay play as sort of like a genre thing, because Dominique and I think had maybe seen and read one or two plays in the genre before we started working on the project, but you really helping us understand that it was sort of this thing that was like so important during a specific era was so helpful and so important to the play.
Yeah. So in coming into theater and in trying to find gay representation in theater, it was the gay play, which now it wasn't called the white gay play, it was just a gay play, but it was all white guys, and they're good, they're entertaining, they're engaging. One of my favorite plays is Boys in the Band. I love it. There's one black character in Boys in the Band who's over here. He also is called, this is the frustrating thing whenever they introduce a black character or a character of color in a white gay play, is that oftentimes that character will receive some sort of racist animosity from the white characters, but never be given any sort of agency to come back. In Boys in the Band, the black character is called a slur and doesn't say anything. It's just like, oh, now we feel bad. Whereas I would be like, I think that character would say something back, and that's a sort of common theme I noticed in the structure of the white gay play, with the white family the chosen family coming together in an apartment in Manhattan or a country house out in the someplace up there where the rich people go, and they sort of like have a fabulous time, and they cry, and they play a game and do all these things, and a lot of them are entertaining, a lot of them are terrible, but it became this sort of genre of theater that when I first started coming into the theatrical space, that was the representation I saw of gay men. And I always wondered, well, what if someone who looked like me or had my attitudes or thoughts walked into that play and decided to play more of a role? Dominique said it brilliantly during rehearsal. It's the play when Belize starts talking too much.
And one thing I think is really interesting, and it speaks to your thoughtfulness here, is that like I feel like I'm reading a lot of like discourse about some black media that exists now that sort of just paints a white character black and puts them into a narrative, and you see often how it doesn't work. One thing that I think that you do really well is that like, and the play just becomes about this, is that like their existence in it breaks it. And I think that is, and literalizing that I think is a very like thoughtful thing to do. Did you always want them? Were you always like putting these guys in will break it? Or as trying to write a gay play with a black person in it, where you're like, oh, this is breaking.
It's when a black character or Asian character in the play decides to say, I'm not going to just be the comic relief, but I want to have some agency of my existence within this play, and let's see what happens. I want to be the one who is the lead. I want to be the one who has desire. I want to be the one who has a voice, and to see what happens with that. But in a way that acknowledges the fact that they are a person of color. They're not just like, oh, I'm a character who happens to be black, or I'm a character who happens to be Asian, and it's never brought up, and it's just sort of cast that way. it's like they're doing I had the sequence that was cut that I listed like all the gay plays like throughout, and gay films and gay TV shows, and none of them had, maybe a small handful had a tertiary character sort of sitting on the back porch somewhere. And one of them was The Normal Heart, which is a brilliant play. And now they're doing an all Black version of The Normal Heart is coming up, and I'm like, that's good, but also they're still playing characters written as white. And so let's have something where they can be Black men and acknowledge that, that is a part of it. So
yeah, I always think about that a lot as a director, about wanting to like it's never been a particular interest of mine, but I know some people who it is, right? Where it's like, if we take this thing and like figure out how Black folks or people of color fit inside of it, maybe like there will be a cracking of it open. And I'm thinking about there was like an all Black production of The Harry Ape a couple of years ago in New York, and it's such an interesting thing because back when I was an actor, it used to feel so difficult, right? Because the characters were often so far away, and I was being asked to bring so much of myself to it, but there was always this one thing I could never bring, right? And it's the thing that really like constitutes so much of my experience of the world. How do I leave out my entire worldview, my entire like the Blackness that constitutes my existence? How do I leave that out of the like development process? And I found oftentimes like no one was really equipped to answer those questions. And I hope that all black Normal Heart like really considers what that means.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yaszmin.
Yaszmin is here with audio only. I think her connection may not be that great. Are you there? Can you hear us? Maybe not.
Oh no. I'll ask one more while we try to see if she can get it back on. We've been here about half an hour. I don't want to keep anybody too long. So I'll ask one more for the two of you. And then if Yaszmin comes on, I will make sure that I ask a question just for her. So this process, we've been with the workshop lab, we've been doing it for a few weeks. We've been working for a few weeks now, but you've been working on this play for about a year. What would you say maybe in this most recent iteration, would you say that you learned, you're taking forward as you continue to work on this play? And Dominique, coming through, like, I don't know, what are the things that you found to be most important through this process?
I learned a lot about the character of Silver to try to give him more of a role and a voice, and not being afraid of leaning into Silver is in a quandary, because Silver also wants, John Anthony and Silver are both in a quandary, because they desire pretty white boys also, and they're stuck in this filtering feedback. So they're stuck in this catch-22, but leaning into that more and just sort of owning that is what Silver's goal is, and he's going to pursue that. And it's either funny or heartbreaking. I was getting different reactions from different people, but that was part of it. Also to figure out the stag, because the stag, as you know, was like this voice, this disembodied voice at one point, and the physical stag was a different thing. And I think still trying to understand the role of the stag is something that I'm looking to develop further in going through with the piece. Those were a couple things. And just hearing actors, I mean, that great cast, that great, fantastic cast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hearing them bring the roles to life really just helped me understand, making the Brick and Braden, the sort of like A gays, let's say, trying to make them less caricature-y, keeping it caricature-y, but giving a little bit of humanity to them there, like starting that to see what that's like. So that was just part of the exploration.
Absolutely.
Can you remind me of what you asked me?
Oh, just what was what was important to you through this process?
Yeah, what was important to me? What do you mean, Zach?
I wanted to leave it open so you can interpret, but sort of like, what helped you do the great work you did? Was there anything that you were particularly focused on in this?
Oh, that's thank you so much for that specific question. I feel like I did great with specifics. I think the thing that really helped me was that Aaron, and I feel like I'm always complaining about this, right? Like if we're doing theater, we might as well go as big as we can go. Because like every other medium can maybe just do it a little bit better sometimes. And so Aaron writing this like big ass, maximalist ass play, right? Where everything is up and it's up and it's up and it's up, to quote social theorist Cardi B, was really like exciting, right? That there is this huge playground of a play that you can really mess around with and really dig into. And I think that was, especially because it's like the type of play that Aaron is parroting, right? This gay play is always big. It's always lush. It's always extravagant. There's always like a sort of grace to it. So what happens when it starts to break down, right? Well, the breakdown, right, needs to be big. It needs to be grand. It needs to be all of those things. And that storm is just sort of the perfect encapsulation of that to me. And so it was really like the thing that was on my mind the most is like, one, balancing, really making sure that Aaron was getting what he needed with like the development of the play and the language and the text, and also just being like, for myself, like for like a year or 2 years from now, and being like, oh yeah, right there, Nicki Minaj is gonna play from like these two giant speakers that nobody can see, and that's just gonna come through and be a whole moment, right? Really being able to build out and think about the maximalism of that world was really exciting, and I think a thing that was really fun for me. It's, even though like we're on Zoom, but it still felt like, because of those great actors. Shout out to whoever cast those actors, because whoever cast those actors did a great job, right? But like just their ability to like really bring that world, right? It's the team, the ability to bring that gorgeous world to life, I thought was amazing. Shout out Broderick Clavery, 12 times out of 10. Shout out to Star Kirkland, 12 times out of 10, right? Just being able, like Daniel, Justin, everyone that was there was really just like amazing in what they were able to bring to life and to really show these characters. Like, I just love when actors are like really okay with being ridiculous, because when the wig came, like everything came together, and that just sort of that joy that it brings you.
That was perfect. I cannot think of a possible, no more questions. Yaszmin, unfortunately, looks like is not going to be able to rejoin us, but I do want to speak a little bit to Yaszmin is with the Audre Lorde Project, who's if you paid money for a ticket today, and if you haven't, you definitely should give them money, because they're an organization that cares about LGBT people of color, and they're currently interested in drawing your attention to their Brick by Brick program, which gives housing to TGNC folks of color in New York. So yeah, please donate to them. I want to thank Aaron for writing such a beautiful play, Dominique for bringing it to life, our cast, Nicole, who's our social media person, helping us out, our stage management team, just everybody who even contributed anything to this. I think this came together so well, and I'm so happy to have been working on this for so long, and to the workshop for putting it all together. So thank you everybody for staying this long.
Well,
Aaron?
Zach, thank you so much. Aaron, thank you very much. This was a fantastic night. As you guys said, it was beautiful, beautiful work. We all know the limitations of Zoom or StreamYard or whatever we're using, and I got to be honest, this one was a home run. Like the actors were brave. You are all incredibly brave. I'm grateful that we were able to be a part of it, and a part of that journey. I hope this is on stage. I really do. And Dominique, thank you very much. I really responded to a lot of what you said, particularly your comments later in the conversation about Black performers in white roles, and why it just doesn't, it's not fully there, and it makes perfect sense. So thank you for that. And to everyone who came tonight, who bought a ticket, to supported the Audre Lorde Project or supported the workshop, we're really grateful. We've raised so far over $2,000 for the Audre Lorde Project, and that's beautiful. And there will be more. Please, if you like what you saw tonight, tell people, because it's going to be available for 4 more days on on YouTube. And we can get the link to people. Like, people can still buy tickets on our website, and we'll get a link to them right away so that you can watch it anytime over the course of the next 96 hours, up until Sunday at exactly 6:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So, Zach, thank you so much for a great evening. Dominique and Aaron, thank you very much. And from all of us at the Workshop Theater, good night.
Hey, everybody.